If you watched my last video, I did a shop tour, and one of the stops was right here at my desk. Now, I kind of went into some detail of it serves a purpose. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but at this point, I'm not going to build an entire desk. But what I am going to do is solve a problem. So the problem is clutter. As you can see here, I have a milk crate that is full of important folders with documents in them, a random assortment of other paper material, and 2 socks. But I currently have them up and underneath my desk. And on this side, I have a stack of sustainers that are basically just getting this little printer off of my desk. So now that you know my problem, the goal is to build a cabinet with some drawers and some storage, not only for the important files and papers and everything, but also for some of the accessories and laserable items that I use on the F1.
Do you remember this thing? If you watched my last video, you'd understand why that's funny. So to solve my problem and to achieve my goal, I want to create a series that walks you through the process of figuring out the issue all the way up to the final product.
So the goal for this first video is we're going to first measure the space that the item is going to fit into. Then we're going to hop on SketchUp, design it, and then I'm going to show you a program that will help make breaking down sheet goods a lot easier. I mean, a lot easier. This probably doesn't get picked up on camera, but I really hate working on the ground. So I need to make sure that I have everything I need while I'm on the ground so I don't have to get up and down a million times. The very first thing I'm going to need, obviously, is a tape measure so I can measure all of my dimensions. The next thing is a piece of paper. It can be an envelope, a Post-it note, it really doesn't matter. And obviously you're going to need a writing utensil. In this case, this was one of my Christmas gifts, a Blackwing Festool pencil. One helpful tip that I have found is, for me, I'm a visual learner, so I like to actually kind of draw out what the space is going to look like. Here is a wonderful depiction of my chair. I have it labeled left, ground, and then this dashed line here is kind of an invisible line. And then that just kind of tells me in space what I'm working with here. Here is going to be the bar that is below the top of the desk. Okay, so what I did there was I put my chair where I normally sit, and then I marked on the ground where an appropriate space would be so I can get a good measurement here. So if I come off of this wheel over here, and this is just to get me started, we're at 17 inches wide, and I can make it up to 3 foot deep. That's way too deep. Your stuff would go in a drawer and get absolutely lost. So I might start at 20. That's still pretty generous. And I might even mark here on the floor just to give me a good idea. So we have 17 over. I'm just going to write it on the floor, and then I'll transfer it to my book. And 20 inches deep. And then the height is the most important part here. So I know as my floor goes back, it slopes down. So I want to go from the highest point, which looks to be right about here, which is under this bar. So I'm going to take the tape measure this way and kind of bring it up to here, and we're right at 26.5. Okay, so in my drawing, I kind of wrote down all my dimensions really quickly, and then I made, I believe it's isographic. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've taken drafting class, but this kind of gives me the overall shape of what I'm looking for with my 3 important measurements. We have width, height, and depth. Okay, so now that we're into SketchUp, the first thing I like to do is to kind of make a skeleton of what the overall shape is. So I'm going to hit R for rectangle, go from the origin. I'm going to go back and over. It is 17 inches wide and 20 inches deep. And then we'll come up here, click our view, and I want to bring this up 26.5 inches. There we go. Going to hit spacebar to get me back to my selector tool, triple click. There we go. Hit G, make a component, create. Now we're going to go into it, and when you edit the component, you want to make sure that there is a line or a dashed line all the way around it. And what I'm going to do is get rid of each face. That way we kind of have, those are out of the way, and we just have a wire component. So the first thing I need to do is make a side. And so I'm going to take R for rectangle, go from side or corner to corner. Gives us our overall shape. And we need to push pull. We're going to make it 0.75 because that is roughly the thickness of the plywood. Triple click. Whoa, what happened there? Okay, hit the space bar to go back to selector tool. Triple click, G, enter. You can name them if you want to. I think it's a waste of time, especially for something like this, but I haven't found any benefit to it. So next thing we need to do is click M for move, hit this corner, hit option on a MacBook, and that'll give us, it'll duplicate it. And then I'm going to hit the right arrow button, and that locks it into that plane. Drag it over, it'll snap into place. There we go. Really, I don't need this anymore. Get rid of that. In this video, I'm not going to go through and show you every single click that I make, but I am going to tell you that SketchUp is a super useful tool, and I've been using it for the last 4 years or so, and it helps with all of my builds. If learning more about SketchUp is something you'd be interested in, leave me a comment down below, and maybe I'll make some tutorials. And so here you go. This is kind of, again, this is a very, very basic cabinet build, which is great if you're starting out, especially if it's for your shop, because if you make mistakes, who cares? It's a learning process. So here is my color coding for this one. So both of these sides are the exact same. One's on the left, one's on the right. So I have them color coded blue. All of my nailers, this is essentially a nailer in this case, are also the same color. We have red, the backer is green, and I have these two platforms. So right here, this is just going to be a shelf, and then we're going to have a drawer here and drawer here. So I'm going to need 2 sets of drawer slides. I'm going to go with 18-inch because we have 19.5 inches front to back. Okay, and here is Cutlist Optimizer. So cutlistoptimizer.com will bring you here. It is free. You get 5 calculations per day on the free version. And then if you pay for it, which in my opinion, it's a little expensive unless you're like constantly building things. I went ahead and entered in all of the dimensions just for the sake of the length of the video, and your stock sheet, that is our 4x8 sheet, and I want to make sure that the grain is going north to south because that's just how it goes. And over here, these are the pieces that I need to cut from SketchUp, and how I do it is you go in here, enter the length, the width, how many of them you need, and then I like to label them by saying what color I have them in SketchUp. So in this case, for our side pieces, they're blue in SketchUp. I labeled them that way, and I need the grain to go up and down. Go through all of these, and then you're going to push calculate. This usually takes a little bit of time, but as you can see here, this is what we're going to be working with. And if I zoom in, they are labeled for you. So we have purple, even though the color is not purple. I don't know how to change that. Maybe it's in the Pro version, but it'll give you your dimensions, top and bottom, and then what color it is, which also goes to the SketchUp model, and your blank space. So up here, we are saving 49 3/4 of an inch, which comes in handy for your initial cuts on the breakdown. And then over here, you have statistics about a bunch of stuff. I don't really ever need that. Gets a little advanced. But one other thing here is if you go up to these 3 dots, you can then export it as a PDF. So if you needed to print it out, it will have a sheet that looks like this. So you can print it out and take it to your workstation. I keep it on the laptop because I'm in the shop, so I just take it over with me. So there you have it. That's kind of my process. What's the problem? What's the goal? Throw it into SketchUp so I can work out any of the issues that I might have. And then, if it's sheet goods, throw it into Cutlist Optimizer. And that is a life-saving tool when it comes to trying to figure out the best way to break down sheet goods. I hope this video helped. And for the next video, we're actually going to break down the plywood after I go get it. I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye.